the impersonal and nature people. Eriane. I'm Eriane, Queen of the Elves of Uridan Village. Greetings to all of you, brothers and sisters in their humanity and eternity. I come to continue with what I told them a few weeks ago with some clarification, perhaps, additional, and will reveal to them some mechanisms which until now had not been revealed, although some perhaps have been fortunate, individually, to live at power. We, the Elves, organized a ceremony every new moon, wherever we are on the surface of this earth and whatever our environment. These ceremonies are held during the new moon, because during the new moon no light is reflected from the sun. We know, of course, that many of you through different schools and teachings, have been able to practice some teachings and meditations during the new moon. As for us, we elect the new moon, from time immemorial, and this for one simple reason: the light that is reflected by the full moon is a light that is loaded with components called for you astral, and resends the confinement of this world. Empirically, meditation active full moon, the functions connected to what you name the third eye, the ANA center for you. At that moment deprive them of the influence of cosmic radiation, and cosmic radiation replace the lunar and solar radiation, as amended and diverted at about 30 degrees. There now arrive the time to carry out, if desired, these meditations of the new moon. Wherever you are on earth, if you join us during these days of new moon, you will find some very different things in relation to the meditations that you have been able to practice during the days of the full moon. Indeed, during the new moon, there is no longer a reflection of the deflected sunlight, but there is a privileged access, especially during this period, the energies we call as day, cosmic, coming from source, which come Sirius, which are less accessible day and especially completely absent on full moon evenings. So the new moon, in this world, is certainly the period when cosmic influxes of the original light are the most important, and indeed the activation is no longer produces the level of the third eye, but directly in the heart and then in the state of being. With that, I just want to say that, apart from their walks, which have incited to do in nature, to find our vortices, you can perform it again without the need to be in our spaces, the new moon afternoons, connecting if us, yet they do not know us, yet they have never seen us, just enough that you have heard of us. If we have felt if you had this sort and this opportunity, then it will be easier for you to align yourself and be in the presence, just as you say, benefiting thus the best influxes that may exist on the earth today. So all the elves, through me, invite them to our ceremonies. Even when not in the places where we will be touched in your heart the energy of the new moon, which is now drained by our vortices, everywhere on earth. Thus, the days of new moon are you, a single medium, every month, approaching his eternity, and especially to take advantage is the beneficial influxes transmitted by the light and the different cosmic radiation that reached them without be changed precisely during the new moon. Some of you know that the moon is an artificial satellite, which is not natural. The minimum influence of the moon, regardless of their growing or waning stages, rising to, is linked specifically to the new moon, where sunlight can no longer be reflected. At that time, cosmic radiation replaces the solar radiation. During those times and those nights, I'd say you have 3 days, 24 to 48 hours before or 24 to 48 hours later, and of course, the most visible and sensitive way the afternoon's new moon. Remember, because if you can do it, to remain quiet a moment, wherever they are in the moonless evenings, line up during these times, do not ask anything, are simply present and aware of what happens in you. If his disappearance occurs, do not worry, your back will feel really and concretely what happens in you, in the cocoons of light in their auras and your chakras. Since some months and from now, will intensify each month and each new moon is the ability to connect to more effectively, if I may say so, his eternity and penetrate eternity in those moments. What adds simply is that we, the elves, celebrate the new moons, but now, the situation of interdimensional vortexes within the limits of our people, you will benefit from these inflows, wherever they are, even if they are very away from us. Connect to us, my name whether or elves in general, and will realize for yourself the lightness of his heart, the release of your attachments that may still be present in your ephemeral. These moments are privileged moments. They will become increasingly sensitive and obvious to you, so you think these days connect to us and to you. The messengers elves, coming from all the distant regions Elvish, informed us that we ourselves, the Elves, at this time, regardless of the blessings we do to nature, to the water and vegetables, now include humans in our blessings because since now, as you may have been living in our villages, they can find us much easier and much more sensitive way. So I take the opportunity to announce them what I have just said. You have the option, whatever their initial condition, whatever its vibrations, whatever your conscience, benefit to this flow so important to you will be shown. It will allow you, prepare in silence for what comes to the call of Marian for all that they have been described by the Intergalactic Confederation of Free Worlds. During these evenings, in particular, try not to eat or eat very little in order to be available in your heart and not be in digestion phase, to get the most from inflows from the cosmos and sent by us to your heart. There are, of course, these new opportunities, one embodiment of the Earth liberation and its release. We Elves have never been confined, we maintain our presence even within this world, staying in privileged places such as existed within the Intraterra, with intraterrestrials people, but also in spaces occupied by dragons, and to a lesser extent by the Undines, as that being in the water and in the air have the ability to fix its emanation, so to speak, within your living place. It is also possible near the people of the gnomes, the people of Earth, as for the people of dragons. You have a unique opportunity, for you, here in this space, to benefit to it, and, wherever they are, again, try not to eat the new moon afternoons and align themselves. If you just respect the time of the new moon because it is different every month, will realize, truly, all the effects on you, on your conscience and in your body, through which eliminates that time, sometimes painful way to you. There will be healing virtues, there will be virtues linked to the expansion of your consciousness or his own disappearance. It's up to you to decide. You are free, of course, but it was necessary to give them this information, so that, wherever they are, including in the cities and away from our influence, you could also connect to yourself, the cosmos, and us to benefit from the maximum intensity of love and light free. The effects are almost immediate. Of course you know that there are also some minerals that help strengthen our connection, by vibratory resonance. These stones were named the fairy stones Mendelito Opal, also are our stones, those corresponding in some way to an affinity that you would name vibrating with our world. Are somehow a key, simply holding this rock in your hands, you come to us even if they are away from us, you will benefit, during the days of the new moon, these cosmic influxes of the original light. With its triple radiation such and as known, UV radiation, the radiation source and the radiation of the Holy Spirit, now followed in all the adamantine particles. It also means that if you line up during those times, without any intention of creating a group of egregore, not occupy it, are simply in touch with yourself, with your heart, and see how easily you beyond the usual thoughts, the usual emotions or expressions of your body that can still occur untimely during their alignments, during his meditations, during his disappearance. So if for you it is difficult to see us at first, do not forget you can be provided for the stone, this mineral, to facilitate contact with us, and with the original light. It is us, the more easily than with the dragons or the peoples of the earth, you have the opportunity to rediscover and strengthen your inner freedom, but also to free your body and your memories of any weight, all that still weighs them, whatever your state of arousal or release. I remember that there is not to ask for anything, in any case, just to leave work in you the radiation source, the radiation, ultraviolet radiation of the Holy Spirit, and leave, in a sense, the intelligence of light to mind all. It was the message I had to deliver them. In return, it allowed me today to answer your questions, if any of you, not in relation to what we are, but in relation to what I have just said regarding these ceremonies of the new moons. If more details are needed, if further important elements, I hear them. I emphasize, too, that the best posture to receive our blessing, during the new moon, and the blessing of light, is to stay simply sitting, arms and legs uncrossed, and especially asking anything, just be present, which is in an armchair at home or in our places, if you have the opportunity to meet them and have them lived. Do you have any questions regarding these ceremonies and their effects? Silence. Then, I proceed with what I have just said, with respect to our ceremonies. We are the people of air, and as such, although we live in general close of mineral or vegetable or rivers, there is the possibility of effectively for our blessings, during these ceremonies of the new moon, fully release what was named, I believe, the air triangle. Air triangle is centered, I remember them on a precise point called I am corresponding to here. This here is for us what we could call with you, which most closely resembles the heart because the here gives them a privileged location near the emptiness, that approaches its source and what you they are true. But do not forget that the most important during these ceremonies, is truly remain neutral on this welcome as would the impersonal. Simply being there, here, present, and leave work grace in you. We will, during each ceremony, increasingly present and increasingly effective, if I may say so, not because we strive, but because the light becomes more and more present. And since our vortices, we can begin to emanate from the original light, preparing to further optimize so the Earth ascension mechanism that is ongoing. Our friends dragons, they, as they were told, stabilize the land aspects with its blows, digging some circular holes, allowing the Earth to find less stress and less cracks in his robe for the ascension mechanism. Our way is to restore a sense, the lines of freedom, putting an end to what may still remain as waste at the level of predation lines created by the archons. The vortices become, somehow, the new megaliths of the new Earth, a place from which springs the light, are places from where a few lines. So far, we told them that our cities were a enfolding's fifth dimension on the surface of the Earth. From now on, these invaginations are directly connected between them, no longer in his heaven, but to ground level. If you are lucky enough, for example, to visit two places of our people, will find that to each other on the surface of the Earth, there are some extremely powerful energy lines ending with the rest of predation lines that can still manifest itself through the memorial mechanisms and the geometric shapes built on this Earth. We are therefore with our work, the new support structure, mesh freedom. We stabilize these lines are a true light lines in which will, at the appropriate time during the last phase of Earth's transformation, can create a private forces that limit the destructive impacts of the carbon illusion. Here too, you will feel it. Increasingly often walking, including the outskirts of our villages, you may feel these lines, you can follow them without tools, without pendulum, without the use of any dowsing element, but simply walking, you will have the opportunity to discover these lines which travel through the Earth. They are somehow, some runners, are not simply a line, are adamantine light corridors where nature will behave differently. The plants will be different if these lines run through the plant. If cross their homes, you will also feel a change in the power structures and see how their places of life suddenly become brighter. You may even notice these corridors and these lines as a white mist and perfectly straight, nothing to. If you have the good fortune to see in nature or in their homes, they can also, regardless of the new moon, then sit down or lie down. Significantly feel the same thing during our ceremonies of the new moon. These lines, unlike our vortices in the confines of our villages, remain active permanently and progressively establish. However, they have, as they say, entangled all the Earth, but it will soon. In any case, before August 15th this network will be fully extended. This network, I remember them, it is a mesh support structure of the matrix of freedom that allows them, through our invaginations and our vortices and, even now, through these corridors passes vibrator inverters, rediscover your eternity more facility. They will also serve for the call Maria and after his call, so some of you can move safely along these corridors, totally invisible to the matter and totally invisible to the consciences that have elected confinement or who have not yet been released. As you can see, what I reveal to you today is a continuation of what I could say in the last month. Now as this ongoing resurrection happens in you, happens on Earth, and follow this resurrection with our ceremonies, just as the dragons accompanying preparing the land with its blows. So the hope, every new moon, everywhere on this planet, increasingly numerous to benefit from the true light, and break free of what might still disturb them, their past fears, their latest manifestations of a person who bothers them and affects them. Still no questions about what I just said? Question: can we do some pictures or videos in your village? Understand well that through what I told you a few weeks ago and I just said to you today, we reveal our presence by the presence of light. Then, of course, they have the opportunity to take a picture of record sounds of nature. Those moments, you can perfectly do it, not for you, because you will have lived and do not need to show them anything, but for others who might be interested in it and who doubt the reality of I just said. So yes, they use their devices, whatever they are, there is no limit, but anyway, look for the ceremony itself, remain quiet. The lines, as I said, the corridors of vibrational light, will gradually impact the entire live set. These lines, I said about the plant, but possibly also in their homes, so do not hesitate to shoot the effects of radiation of light within these new lines of freedom. Do and teach. It is time to tell you everything and teach you everything there is to hide anything I tell them. The light is revealed out, and the more you penetrate inside, then all evidence, visual materials, you can take your human brothers and sisters can only go in the right direction. We also now entirely unachievable, the quality of light that is in the earth. Sure, it's a little different for the people of Earth or even the Undines because there are some particular components in them that cause there is extreme sensitivity to what may remain in you emotions. Undines are not some emotional beings, but they have a weakness in relation to emotions, which is not our case. We are impervious to your emotions, are only permeable to His love and quality of your light, your grace, your kindness. Do not hesitate to shoot us and photograph these famous runners who appear before you in their homes or in nature. Do not expect to find these corridors as other existing networks on Earth. They may be several kilometers away, or be close to a few meters. It all depends. I remember them, going from village to village. There may be sometimes tens of kilometers between two people, but we also have a very close and distant villages only a few dozen or a few hundred meters. In these places, of course, it will be much easier to observe plant modifications and animals in their places of life. Question: in a place far from here, during a walk with some brothers and some sisters, and I am not lucky enough to see or be able to feel them, were you present? Personally, my sister, I'm never there. I never travel out of my village. We have some elves messengers traveling. You do not need to see us or feel us, on the contrary, whatever you alive, even if you do not live anything during that time, you see, as I said, very quickly the effects on your consciousness and on your body. A new lightness will be present. That said, many of you begin to see us differently, in a special way during our ceremonies. Since we all went down in general the outskirts of the village, there were these famous vortexes. Then, of course, likely to meet us and see us in a more visible way, I would say, it is certainly during these famous new moon afternoons. However, as I said, the interdimensional vortex fifth dimension, they remain active permanently now. The important thing is not the wonderful hour meeting, for you what is important is the light that is there. The important thing is to live what you have to live in their eternity, and that, in this particular period of the earth, are an important help for some of you. Tirelessly to serve, we also, to release and Earth's ascension, as well as the humanity of liberation. Be present in this place, do not try to feel us, see us. Please you, although nothing and feel nothing living, you can only observe the after effects very quickly, the healing properties of these places and the possibility of expansion of consciousness in these special places today. From now on, to say that what you know even old vortices, in some places they had more or less been preserved fake in some old buildings in certain places of worship, which were also preserved, of course, prior to it was that you called Gothic and Roman in particular, whatever the nature of that building, where there were some prayers, you will find that our vortices are much more authentic than that produced in human constructions, including the most sacred. Because there is freedom. No building that returns to freedom, although it is liberating. True freedom is live instantly, and is more likely to produce when you yourself are in your heart, in our locations, or if you connect to us, as I said, the new moon afternoons, and if possible the exact time of the new moon, although the effect overflowing, as I said, about 48 hours before 24 to 48 hours later. Do not forget that the desire to see, the desire to feel, blocks the perception of our own presence. There is to be in the hospitality, the welcoming of himself simply. Do not forget that when you go to our local, You are in a particular vortices that open to your own multidimensionality, which open your heart, not your head, even though the light effectively in these places, you feel it penetrate as a shower of light in your head. In fact, it runs directly, in purity to his heart. With the dragons, it is a little different, but I'll let the people of dragons express themselves about it, because its action is located above the level of the sacred and vibrato fire, born I remember them, not only in his heart, but also level of your sacrum. The quality of light is always authentic, but the effects are perhaps a little different. So I'm not in the place where you met, and certainly there were other elves. There will always be whatever the people you meet, the same vibrational quality, the same vortices, and the same intensity and descent of light, and the same possibility of transformation or opening, and engram's disposal. Question: I'm not sure how to apply compresses with oak leaves. Water overflows everywhere. Beloved, I never said I had to put an amount of water. Simply moisten the sheet. Water does not have to shed. They're simply to moisten the solar phase sheet, the upper side if you prefer, and it is preferable to pick up the leaves on the ends of trees. Young leaves, the last outputs, will be charged more adamantine particles. It is the same for all the leaves of trees, not only the oak leaves, and, in fact, there is a wide variety of oaks. The oak is the master of the woods. It is a cork oak tree, an oak, or other varieties of oaks. They're drench anything, just wet the sheet to allow disperse their light in the place where you will put it or where you put it. Question: how can we conserve water that we will take this afternoon to take her to our house? This conserves water by itself cannot be contaminated or changed. Although it is contained in something made with oil, such as plastic, will remain intact and will remain so for years. Simply protect it from direct light, so they do not carry other influence than our ceremony. There is no other precaution to take. Q spoke of the new lines that will have an effect on animals and plants. What effect it will have on animals and plants, and as we realize, the plants will be different. It will be apparent, of course, with their eyes. As for animals, you will find that the wild or domestic animals near these lines, and in a way, also feed them. They are attracted by the light. Somehow, the plants will be much more beautiful, much larger, much more alive. You can even take the aspect, for example, in a crop field, a line, a corridor of a few centimeters, even some meters, where everything is greener, where everything is more complete, in a way. And then, above all, they feel for themselves what happens in these lines, if they are lucky enough to find some. As I told them, I could be a few meters away, and even tens of kilometers. It is often a fortuitous encounters during his trips. You will see that the power is identical to that of the vortices. The interest is also that if you see this line, you know that there is a village, at one end or the other of the line. So follow it, if you have not had the opportunity to meet. At the end of this line or the other extreme, you give with the vortexes in the limits of our village. Question also said that these lines could cross our homes. Nothing can stop them. Question: if we put some animals or plants in your path, we will see the same effects? Yes, even inside their places of life. Question: how to be guided by your people? Stroll naturally in nature, wherever you live, and walk, without asking anything, no purpose other than walking, and the light, for their intelligence, will guide them there where we are. There is no technique, just dare to simply just walk with the free spirit of the whole meeting. I tell you this now, because the lines, as I said, the corridors of vibrational light, light of freedom, will become visible very quickly. It is necessary, indeed, I would say, about 4 weeks for these lines to activate, not globally everywhere on Earth, but these lines should have been drawn. Progressively establish and unite each other, as the days and nights pass. So at that time, it will be very easy to know where we are. Until then, simply roam, and let him be. Trust in the light, far more than his intellect, much more than in their techniques. Question: last time asked us to getting wet your left hand and let it dry naturally. We must renew it or this impression is final. You can go back to do it every time there is water on the outskirts of our villages, especially during our afternoon ceremonies. And if a line goes through a river, it is clear that the water passes only, but these places will find a different water, even if only go through this corridor or this line, with the condition to take it directly at the site where is the line. Watering, moistening your left hand, you help with the opening of your heart, even if they are only you who can do it. In any case, you allow what can resist its ephemeral evacuate up more easily. You can also apply this water directly on your energy centers, and in particular on the heart when you have a heavy heart, or when you find it difficult to remain in peace. Here, too, you will realize the effects quickly. Question: last year, during that ceremony, physically feel a contact, touch on the arm or on the cheek. Could again be produced this afternoon? Beloved, what is the interest to know now, when in a few hours you walk away? You have to live it. To each of you is different. What can I just say? It is that the intensity is incomparable to what was experienced before. And it will strengthen every month. To get to our seats, which is this evening and other evenings, please remain silent. Do not look to see us. If we show ourselves to you, you in the summer, but feel us, or at least feel the adamantine light that penetrates, you will be filled with joy. Question: he asked us to avoid eating beneficiarmos the light. I told them to feed lightly. Question: our cook prepared us a meal, it would be a shame not to enjoy it. You decide. You may well hold off your meal a few hours, but you can also eat. I only say that it is much easier to be available when the stomach is empty, because at that time you do not direct the blood flow and the flow of light for your stomach to digest. But you are free to do whatever they want, I give them just what else makes. Question: these lines will be active until 15th August, will be visible to all? Will be visible by its effects, but not directly. And those human brothers and sisters who have etheric vision or the vision of the heart, is striking. Because these lines are not only telluric lines, as the lines of predation, but are lines of light, especially at sunset and in the morning. You may see the light, but of course it will not be accessible to all mankind. However, even those who do not have this subtle vision perceive some plant anomalies which may not explain. Question: when we have a garden roses that develop when they are not of this variety, these anomalies are you talking about? Not all of the abnormalities are related to our lines. You have some abnormalities that are linked directly to the Aramantina light that was deposited in these places, without for it to be in the corridors linking our villages. It is certainly what many of you, if you are aware or have gardens, have been able to observe. Vegetables become profoundly different. But here I am not talking about a plant between, say, a dozen identical plant, but in some lines, in some corridors. Question: recently, I took a stone that attracts me to the fountain. I wonder if it's smarter to take it or leave it in your environment. If you found her, why you want to return it? Consider that it is a gift of nature in this place. She is also charged, was found on the outskirts of our village, these ceremonies. So she carries something different from other stones. Question: this morning we noted above this house, two small beings flying, rising vertically. We did not know if they were elves, fairies or birds, but looked more like a fairy. They were white. As I said, we never went out of our villages. On the other hand, you have other people of nature moving more easily, without departing too much water and your vegetables, particularly the fairies. Question: what most surprised us is that they were very high. Beloved, it was not there, and it moves away from that asked about the questions about the ceremonies. You do not have to mix it up. I simply say that unless the messengers elves never went out of our villages, and we must recognize that it would be very rare to see a messenger elf walking on a ground housing. Since, I remember them, the elves messengers use vortices, ascend to the fifth dimension to back down on the other vortex. They did not deviate from the vortices. So what you see flying has nothing to do with us. Dragons can fly, but I doubt very much that they are tiny. But that distances us, once again, the theme of my speech. I asked them to stay on I needed, because what I said does not relate only to you here, but many human brothers and sisters. Question: what is the extent of your village? I did not understand the question. I heard but did not understand. Our people are generally limited to 40 or 100 elves. We're very community, if I may say so, and these villages are not very extensive. There is no standard surface. Again, we move away from what I ordered. I'm not here to answer your questions about the organization of our lives, but very specifically about what I said from the beginning. Do you have more questions about these vortices and these ceremonies, these corridors and this new moon? Question: these corridors will be visible with some numerical apparatuses? Just in a restricted lighting conditions, in the evening after sunset, or in the morning before dawn? Well, of course, what has etheric vision or the vision of the heart can see them at all times. Question: the water that we take can be distributed to other brothers and sisters? There is no limit on the distribution, is part of the heart gift. What I advise you: simply do not want to be invaded, for now, by a multitude of human brothers and sisters. So if you find the limits of our villages, do not try to come to hundreds or thousands during the new moon. We appreciate the human brothers and sisters, in small quantities, as we remember that never exceeded 40 or 100 elves, as the villages, and that it is preferable, of course, not recreate a group egregore, but much more be in your intimacy. So I do not ask to keep secret, but simply being goals so that there is no invasion. Question: the ceremonies have evolved with the intensification of the cosmic flow or the same? How are made? But these ceremonies, we practice, as I said, from time immemorial. There is no difference for us. The difference is for you, the presence of adamantine particles in these vortices, within the limits of our villages, for there is an intensification in each new moon. Indeed, those who came to our village, months after months, know it very well. I would not do anything to them. DETALH semos our ceremonies and future effects. Live them, find these vortices. We also have other functions, and has also been said, particularly during the time, that there will be, as you would call, a way to escape their usual life locations. It will also, at that level, a role for traffic, but it has been said for over a year. We have no more questions, thank you. I think we gave back to the subject, not on these ceremonies, but about their interest to live it, is the most important. I remember them. Do not try to see us or feel us, occurs naturally if the time has come for each of you, but whatever it is, the effects of these places will be visible, if I may say so, for each of you, even for those who do not have the perceived or that we have not touched. In fact, those of you, here or anywhere, that will to our sites during these ceremonies, some of our people will move towards you and will touch them, the arm, the cheek or the head or the heart. We do only, not to select, but with those who are ready to live it. Remember, there is no need to seek any sensationalism, not even seek to find us, you just have to be there. Remember, this is the most important. I'm Eriane, Queen of the Elves of the village of Iridan, where the sun never lies down, except at night. I say goodbye, wherever they are. Remember that, although they have the opportunity to meet our villages or the limits of our villages with their vortices, you can just think of the elves in nature and remain so, these new moon times. I salute your eternity in your heart, and tell them so far. I also ask them the greatest silence, I ask them to immobility. No talking or exchange between you, there is nothing more to do, to be there at reception, in reception, without desire, without thoughts. Remain internalized in you, close your eyes, do not move more and stay there simply. We are very sensitive to movements, your moods, your thoughts, not as much as the undines, but we have not a weakness but a susceptibility, I would say, about them.